super excited to be heading up the second round of the Butterfly Net Book Club through Watershed. How to catch up. Detailing the spiritual shifts of a questioning Christian. I love doing this book club because I really wrote the book for the purpose of discussion. It often shifts back and forth between critiques of evangelical Christian theology and then also progressive Christian ideology. And it kind of shows how certain groups have idolized certainty, and in doing so have believed to have caught God in a butterfly net. That's kind of the whole metaphor, the premise. My hope, really my ultimate hope for our time together is that we use the mind, in this case theology, to connect back to the heart. So I'm excited for this. Thank you so much.
Hi Watershed, it's Sarah Steinbacher. I'm excited to be facilitating a book club that's starting soon. We're going to be talking through How to Fight Racism by Jamar Tisby. And this book takes a really great practical approach to anti-racism and looks at actionable steps that we all can take in our own communities. So if you're interested in leaning into this conversation, I invite you to check out our book club. It's starting on February 7th, Sunday nights at 6:30. We only have a few spots left and they're filling it fast, but we'd love to have you join our group. Thanks.
Good morning. Welcome to Watershed. So glad that you all are here virtually and that me and Colson, are in your living room or wherever you have your phone. And so we'd love to know where you are, maybe in the city or in the country or in the world. We'd love to check in. We had a friend from India who was, I think he said it was like 9 p.m. there and had tuned in. And it's always great to see and hear from you. And so that we can kind of get this sense of community that maybe we've all been longing for recently. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Love to know, what's going on for you this week. How are you showing up this morning? Maybe I know it's raining and it's cold and all of the seasonal depression is in full swing. And so we hope and pray that this morning can be a little bit of a deep breath. Something that begins to maybe regulate the system and allows you to feel a sense of calm and peace going into your week. Before we get started, though, as you can see, Colson and I are here on stage. And just for the record, in this pandemic, I don't know how long we've been going now. I think it's almost close to a year in March. One of the crazy things is that, kids grow a lot faster than adults. And so I've had some friends who've seen my kids after, not seeing them for 6 months, and they're like, oh my gosh, they've grown so much. So this is Colson. You might remember him as looking a little bit younger last time you saw him, but this is Colson. And so what we're going to invite you to do this morning, we're going to have a little bit of fun with it. It's just us. We're going to be doing some loop pedal stuff, some acoustic stuff, but we don't have a band name, and so we need your help. We want you to help us name our band this morning. So in the comments, I'm a little nervous to do this, but we'd love for you to name our band, our duo, our dynamic duo this morning. So again, grab a cup of coffee, and we will have a great morning together. Breath inside my lungs, is a gift from you. I can't help but give back my gratitude. Everything around me sings of something holy, and I know, yes, I know it's you. Your love is wilder, your love is wilder, your praise is rising up inside my soul. You're full of wonder, you're like no other. I could live forever in the overflow. I'll live forever in the overflow. Oh, the untamed heart of heaven, so wild and free. We join with our creation, oh, let us see. Everything around me shouts of your glory, and I want to be that way too. Your love is wilder, your love is wilder, your praise is rising up inside my soul. You're full of wonder, you're like no other. I could live forever in the overflow. I'll live forever in the overflow. There is no end to your heart, 'cause everywhere I am is everywhere you are. There is no end to your heart, 'cause everywhere I am is everywhere you are. Your love is wilder, your love is wilder, your praise is rising up inside my soul. You're full of wonder, you're like no other. I could live forever in the overflow. Your love is wilder, your love is wilder, your praise is rising up inside my soul. You're full of wonder, you're like no other. I could live forever in the overflow. I'll live forever in the overflow. I'll live forever in the overflow. Close my eye, I've clenched my fist, I shut my heart, you've opened it, and I wandered far away, you were already there, with open arms, with open arms. I will let love find me, and I will let love surprise me. I will let love redesign me, and I will let love, I will let love. When the waters rise, when the levee breaks, when my world starts feeling like an earthquake. When your love starts sinking in, I can see on the waves open arms, open arms. I will let love find me. I will let love surprise me. I will let love redesign me. Never stop chasing, my heart won't stop ever proclaiming your love for us. There's no containing, your love won't stop, your love won't stop, oh, you won't stop. Never stop chasing, my heart ever proclaiming your love for us. There's no containing, your love won't stop, 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 your love. I will let love find me. I will let love surprise me. And I will let love redesign me. And I will let love, I will let love, I will let love find me. And I will let love surprise me. And I will let love redesign me. I will let love, I will let love, I will let love, and I will let love, I will let love, I will let love.
Hi, my name is Hudson. I hope you can join me for a story and a song.
Hello everyone, my name is Matt and I'm one of the co-pastors here at Watershed. For the past 5 years or so, I've been one of the facilitators, the leaders of something called Preface. If you're not sure what Preface is a newcomer's experience for anyone who's trying to figure out, man, what is it like to be a part of Watershed? What does it mean for my spiritual or religious past to begin to feather into the community or the direction that this community is headed in the future? And so I just wanted to take a few moments and to invite you into that environment. Another one is coming up very soon. It's over the course of 3 weeks, and we're doing this through a Zoom environment at this point because of the pandemic. But I really hope you'll consider it if you're brand new to Watershed. For the past 5 years, I've had so many incredible opportunities to meet so many different types of people. Some of my closest friends I actually met through Preface and am now in community with here at Watershed as well. And so would love to have you experience this. There's ways to sign up online on our website, in the links below or in the comments section. And I really hope you'll join us for the next Preface. Thanks.
So good morning. My name is David Roberts. I'm one of the pastors here on staff, and I am here to take a moment to just update you on some things that are going on. But before we kind of get into like the broader, more traditional announcements, I also want to, just provide some updates and commentary on the suggestions that are rolling in, I'm sure, as I continue to speak. Some highlights, at least for me so far. Water shredders, very inspired, although a few have rightly pointed out that would probably be more appropriate if Colson's brother and Metallica aficionado Keen was up here with us. Smithford is fun. I think that maybe flipping it around, to like Hoth would be better, and you could be like a Star Wars themed band would be pretty cool. And then I just also want to acknowledge, I know he was on the video a moment ago, but Matt O'Neill is not with us today. Spoiler alert, they're going to be doing a cool mashup in a little bit that's got Post Malone in it. And so just kind of in honor of Matt, who's not here this Sunday, Two Post, which is a Battery reference for those of you who haven't been around during the pandemic with us, would probably be the winner in my book. So keep the suggestions coming. And I don't know, maybe on social media this week, we will announce the winner. Other things that are going on, because there is more going on. You just saw the video for Preface. That is filling up fast, but we do still have some spots available, so I do encourage you to sign up and check it out. But in addition to the Preface experience, we have a number of other ways to connect communally during the season, and that includes our ongoing book clubs. We have a number of book clubs that are launching. Some of them have launched, some of them are about to launch. There is room in a number of them, but like with Preface, many of these are filling up fast, especially as we get closer to the launch deadline. And so there's going to be a link in the comments. I hopped on to our database this week, just kind of curious, like who was signing up for what, and there are legit people in these book clubs. Not just the facilitators, who are awesome, not just the authors of the books who are actually leading some of the clubs around their books, but like the people who are signing up. I recognize people who I haven't gotten to see in months, who are really, really cool. I also saw names that of people I've never met before, and I'm excited to hopefully have the opportunity to meet some of those people in the future. But point being is, there are legit people in these groups, and if you consider yourself to be legit, which you should, because you are, then you should hop on and hang out with other legit people while learning about some cool, challenging, exciting, and in many ways liberating topics. I am the student pastor. Many of you know that. And so our rhythms during the pandemic have typically been on Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. We hop onto Zoom. Sometimes it's a little more discussion-based. Sometimes it's a little bit more kind of just fun and games-based. Sometimes it's a combination. But tonight I'm particularly excited because we are going to be kicking off a brand new discussion series that I want to point out was chosen by the students themselves. Try to give them a lot of autonomy when sort of discerning the direction of our group. And so we're going to be kicking off a brand new conversation that's going to last probably about 4 to 6 weeks, just around justice, equity, racism, things like that. We're calling it All Power to All the People, kind of a reference back to the mantra of some of the civil rights movements of earlier eras. And we are going to be kicking our discussion off this evening, really drilling down into the now very prolific phrase and movement, Black Lives Matter, and exploring what does that movement mean? What is it, not just the organization, not just the mantra, not just the phrase, but this larger ethos and vision, and how does that especially relate to our students? And so if you are or are the parent or guardian of a middle school or high school student, that I encourage you to check out the Watershed section of the website at 7 p.m. The Zoom link's going to be there, and we would love to see you. Now, last week, I told an epic tale of need and courage, referencing one of my favorite movie series, The Hobbit. And yes, Tina, I have seen other films, but I just thought that was a particular poignant example to help recruit for just an ongoing need here at Watershed during the pandemic, and that's our tech team. And I just want to reiterate that ask today, but kind of do it from a different angle. There are not a lot of places to volunteer at Watershed in the midst of a pandemic. Hopefully, God willing, as the vaccine rolls out, over the rest of this year, and we have designs and aspirations to hopefully get back together again in the fall. And at that point, you're going to be hearing a lot about volunteer recruitment from us. But in the meantime, the tech team is one of the few areas to serve, but it's crucial. What we're doing on Sundays, and even what we do throughout the week, a lot of that wouldn't be possible without this team. And so not only is that need there, but there's also an opportunity, not just for us, but for you as well. You get to come, you get to be here in person, and we keep the numbers low. We're typically wearing masks, we're distanced, but just the opportunity to come and be in this space and experience our Sunday morning live is a gift that, unfortunately, not all of us kind of get to enjoy. I feel privileged by the fact that I get to be here on Sundays, and so selfishly, it would be awesome to see some of you who we haven't gotten to see in a while, or meet some of you who we haven't gotten to meet. And so if you have even the slightest interest in getting trained and helping out here live on Sunday mornings with media, with video, with sound and lighting, we will train you. We want to make this as accessible as possible, but we're, at least as of last week, we were looking for 9 people, about 3 in each of those areas. And so if that's you, please email Desmond Smith, that's Des, D-E-S, at watershed.charlotte.com. Des would love to hear from you, love to train you, and we'd love to see you on Sunday mornings. And so, last thing from me this morning, I just want to continue to thank everyone who continues to give generously the resources and finances to help keep what Watershed is doing going. Not just as we continue to navigate the challenges of this pandemic and of this year, but as we continue to dream about the future and begin to imagine, what does Watershed look like? Not just as we hopefully are wrapping up this season of pandemic in the next number of months, but just kind of imagining what the future could look like together, and what have we learned and kind of discovered during this pandemic that's going to then translate to being able to meet together in person, and what does it look like for Watershed to continue to build on the work that we've been doing, in the coming years, and that takes resources. And so for those of you who continue to give faithfully and generously, thank you. And for those of you who might be interested in doing that, we try to make it as safe and accessible as possible. You can check out our Watershed website to get a little bit more insight into kind of where the money's going, how it's being stewarded. You can give securely on our app. And if you ever have any questions, then I'm going to direct those actually to Colson's dad, Scott at watershed.charlotte.com, just to kind of completely transparently answer any questions that you might have when it comes to giving. But for those of you who continue to give faithfully and generously, thank you so much.
I was 6 years old, I broke my leg. And I was running from my brother and his friends, tasting the sweet perfume of the mountain grass I rolled down. I was younger then. Take me back to when found my heart and broke it, made friends and lost them through the years. And I'm not seeing the roaring fields in so long, oh how I've grown. And I can't wait to go home. I'm on my way, driving at 90 down those country lanes, singing to Tiny Dancer, and I miss the way you made me feel. And this thrill we watch the sunset over the castle on the hill.
15 years old, smoking hair cigarettes, running from the law to the backfield and hanging out with my friend. And my first kiss on a Friday night, I don't reckon I did it right. I was younger then. Take me back to when we found weekend drives. We got paid, we buy cheap spirits and drink them straight. Me and my friends would
country land, singing to tiny dancing. I miss the way you made me feel. It's true that we watch the sunset over the castle on the hill. Over the castle on the hill. Over the castle on the hill. We couldn't turn around till we were upside down. I'm be the bad guy now, but no, I ain't too proud. I couldn't be there, even when I tried. You don't believe it. We do this every time. Seasons change and love went cold. Feed the flame cause we can't let it go. Run away, but we'll run in circles. Run away, run away. I dare you to do something. I'm waiting on you again, so I don't take the blame. Run away, but we'll run in circles. Run away, run away, run away. Maybe you don't understand what I'm going through. It's only me. What you gotta lose? Make up your mind. Tell me what you're gonna do. It's only me. Maybe you don't understand what I'm going through. It's only me. What you gotta lose? Make up your mind. Tell me what are you gonna do? It's only me. Letting go. Seasons changing and love ain't cold. Feed the flame cause you can't let go. Run away cause we're running in circles. Run away, run away. I tell you to do something. I'm waiting on you again. No, I don't take the blame. Run away, but we're running in circles. Run away, run away, run away. I'm on my way. I still remember these old country lanes when we did not know the answer, and I miss the way you make me feel, and it's real. We watch the sunset over the castle on the hill. 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 Over the castle on the hill.
Hi, my name is Kara Hollinger, and I have been part of the Watershed community for the past 5 years. So I'm here to talk to you about what is saving me today. So if you were to look back at my life over the past couple years, some would have said it's just fallen apart, it's a complete disaster, she's had it rough. I mean, I've heard it all. But at the end of the day, I'm here to explain to you why Spirit and my spiritual connection is what saves me, not just today, but over the past few years, and will continue to serve me every day. So, quick backstory. I, a few years ago, felt great. I was living this awesome life, traveling the world. I had a business I loved. I was in a relationship with a man that I loved. I had friends and support and, just lived this joyous life, but I was unsettled and I couldn't quite figure out why. And I wanted a family, but there was more. It was just this immense unsettlement. And when I turned 40, I went to this solo trip to Indonesia, and I went kind of on a prayer mission and just wanted to sit still and think and manifest. And little did I know my manifestations were about ready to get real, because the day I got home, I got an email that started to pivot my whole life and felt like an avalanche, but that was just the first tip off. It was from my business partner, and it was super great in a way, because it was an awareness that we were not really seeing eye to eye where we wanted the business to go, from what we were passionate about. And doing the work I was doing and being away for those few weeks to think about all of this, it was like, wait a minute, this was everything I was starting to question, and now here it is. And so I went inward and I prayed, and the answer was so clear. It was like, you have to get out. This is your pivot, and you need to sell it immediately. And who cares? Don't worry about any of the details. Just get out. And I was like, but what? And I couldn't wrap my mind around it. But I kept praying, and it kept being, we're here for you. There is no other answer. Just keep moving. This is part of the process. And so I did. And I sold the business, and I started a new one in a week. And I'm building this business 2 weeks in. I'm not sleeping. You're just hustling. And I found out I'm pregnant. Surprise! And that surprise pregnancy was what I asked for, but it wasn't in the way I asked for it or how I thought it was going to come to me. None of the details were what I wanted. It wasn't the right timing. I wasn't in a settled relationship. This wasn't the now. And so, again, back to prayer. Listen, hello, you asked for this. Be grateful. This is all working out for you. Trust the process. And so I did, and I just kept my head down. And a few weeks later, I think it was 2 weeks later, somebody knocked on the door, and it was an awareness to a lie that I was in a relationship with somebody that didn't really exist. So my heart was broken, and I couldn't trust my intuition, and I couldn't trust myself. I kept going inward, and I wasn't getting voices, and I wasn't getting visions, and I wasn't feeling anything. I was just completely shattered, and I was scared, and everything felt broken to me, and I didn't have a grasp on the business, and I didn't have a grasp on the pregnancy, and I didn't want to do this alone. And so I prayed and nothing happened. And so I was in a dark place, and my friends and my tribe showed up. Just everyone just kind of saw I was in a bad place, and so they came around. And so fast forward, I guess it was a rocky 7 months of pregnancy. I stayed positive. I didn't want to lose the baby. I had to stay healthy. I couldn't deal with any of the pain. I couldn't let myself feel it. I had to keep charging. A lot of energy went into the business, but it wasn't productive as it could have been, because my headspace was so fogged with pain and just despair, I guess, and fear. And then something happened. When I had Seren, it was in September, and it was not in a good place with her father, and I had not really seen him, or he wasn't a part of the birth, and so when I had her, it was she got rushed to NICU, and I was forced to sit with her dad for a week in NICU with all these unsettled things, and within minutes of having her, none of it mattered. Absolutely none of it mattered. The only thing that mattered was that I didn't pass this fear and pain onto her, because she was so pure, and I didn't want any of the drama between him and I to ever affect her. And so immediately I prayed, and the birth was incredibly spiritual and very deep. And through that, I kept getting voices of let it go. And this is all working out for you. And he was meant to be your dad. She is going to love him. You guys have to exist. So it's up to you how to create that journey. I can honestly say 2 years later, we are in that. space. We have a loving family. We're not together, but we will always be together. And there is this intensity to the joy that they bring to the family. And she loves her sister and she loves her dad. And I love seeing that joy. And we have a very unusual setup, and it's very modern, and it's not anyone's seen before. So we've had to get a lot of support, and we work really, really hard every week. And honestly, I feel more grace and ease in the way that we're able to coexist than I was when I was married, years ago. So I feel like things really worked out there, and it wouldn't have worked out if I didn't listen to my spirit, and if I didn't sit with that feeling of it's all falling apart, but it's okay. You've got this. This is in you to succeed. And so now the business is succeeding. We have a coexisting family that is, it's crafted for the way that we need it to be, and it's all positive. My soul hurts still every day. I'm still in the process of healing and growing and learning. I'm having to, use boundaries I've never had. I'm having to have immense self-love and forgiveness to everyone around me that has supported or hurt me or loved me along the way. And all of that is happening because of that connection I have to spirit. And to this day, I am going to continue leaning into that to create the best and highest version of myself. And I am just so grateful I listened, because without those lessons I was learning and the surrender I had to learn through that spiritual connection with myself, I wouldn't have had Seren. I wouldn't have sold a business that I love to grow a business that's working so much better for me and has the flexibility and freedom I was looking for, and has more income and more space and more existence for the life I wanted, and it's aligned with my passions and my vision. I'm really excited for this next chapter, and I'm really excited that I have such a great connection to that voice and to be able to lean into something bigger than me. And it's what's saving me right now. And I ask everybody to take a moment and pause and check within yourself and see what's saving you right now. Thank you.
Hold me close and hold me fast. The magic spell you cast. This is La Vie en Rose. When you kiss me, heaven sighs, and though I close my eyes, I see La Vie en Rose. When you press me to your heart, I'm in a world apart, a world where roses bloom. And when you speak, angels sing from above. Everyday words seem to turn into love songs. Give your heart and soul to me, and life will always be La Vie en Rose. Hold me close and hold me fast. The magic spell you cast. This is La Vie en Rose. When you kiss me, heaven sighs, and though I close my eyes, I see La Vie en Rose. When you press me to your heart, I'm in a world apart, a world where roses bloom. And when you speak, angels sing from above. Everyday words seem to turn into love songs. Give your heart and soul to me, and life will always be La Vie en Rose. And when you speak, angels sing from above. Everyday words seem to turn into love songs. Give your heart and soul to me, be loving your roses.
Dating. Ooh. Dating is so much fun, they say. You'll just know when you meet the right one, they say. It'll all happen when you least expect it, they say. Now, I'm not sure if you can see it. Like, there's this giant halo on my head. Like, my back hurts so hard, like, from carrying it sometimes. But I just want to take my foot and stick it in these people's noses whenever they say things like this to me. For me, dating is not fun. Dating is weird. Dating is hard. Dating is messy. Dating is stressful. Dating is exhausting. I mean, really, friends, sometimes I just sit and wonder how someone who actually gets paid to be relational can suck so bad at dating. Sorry, Mom, for saying suck. Maybe this question has also surfaced for you. Maybe it's about dating, or maybe it's, why am I so bad at divorce? Why am I so bad at marriage? Why am I so bad at friendships? Why am I so bad at family relationships? Thankfully, though, in my asking this question, I was reminded this week from wise old Matt. Not that you're old, Matt, I promise, just the wise part. But sometimes when we get stuck, we start to ask the wrong questions. Good morning, Watershed. My name is Blair. I'm the children's pastor here. I'm a cis-hetero woman, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm pretty excited to talk with you this morning about relationships, specifically in the realm of dating. I grew up in a church in the Bible Belt. We bounced from the Methodist church to a Pentecostal church to a Southern Baptist church. So as a kid, I memorized verses. I listened to Salty the Storybook. We Sing Kids. Watch VeggieTales. And then as I got older, I graduated to Plus One and DC Talk and Zoe Girl. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I even proudly wore my own purity ring that I got that pretty much said that I was engaged to Jesus until I really got married. For those who are like, Blair, you are speaking in code, I basically am just letting you know that conservative evangelical theology is ingrained deep inside of me. And to be clear, some of that I'm extremely thankful for. And some of it I've decided to throw out, Marie Kondo style. You know, if it doesn't bring you joy, you get rid of it. But some of it I'm still sifting through. Because as I go through life, I'm continually deconstructing. I'm continually questioning the things that I've grown up with that maybe just don't sit right. One of the best analogies I heard about deconstruction and reconstruction is by comedian Pete Holmes. He describes a room where you take all the furniture out and then you decide what you want to put back in. And so maybe you get rid of everything, every piece of furniture that's there, and you start over. Or maybe you reupholster some of it. Or maybe you refinish some of the pieces. I don't know what it looks like for you. We all have different processes. But I hope we don't just empty out the room and sit miserably blaming those around us or wishing for more. As I get older and know that I want a partner and I want a family and kids, I've forced myself back into this world of dating. So deconstructing and reconstructing this area of my life has moved up on my priority list. And I'll be honest with you, to begin with, it wasn't a priority. Smug Blair thought, it's just relationships, how hard can it be? I deeply believe that we belong to each other. I also believe that God made us from dirt. So clearly, I think we can expect that it's going to be dirty and messy. Humanity was made from and for each other. And this is why many of us need to fit with someone else emotionally, spiritually, and sexually. So in navigating the dating relationship space, I want to invite you this morning into my thoughts on those three areas as I seek to integrate all the parts of myself and attempt a journey towards wholeness. The first part is emotional. Someone once told me that we are all operating from our deepest hurts, pains, traumas, individually and collectively. Relationships serve as mirrors, and there's nothing like getting into a new relationship with someone where you see parts of yourself that you didn't realize were there. In putting myself out there to date, I've had to acknowledge and process my little t traumas, those non-life-threatening injuries, emotional abuse, death of a pet, loss of significant relationships. The big T traumas, someone who's experienced or witnessed serious injury, sexual violence, or life-threatening events. And then my childhood relationships. I've had to do some work. In the book Wired for Love, Dr. Stan Tacken emphasizes the importance of two factors: the early attachments we form with parents, and then the relationships we witnessed in our family of origin. These factors shape our neural pathways in our brains, and that in turn affects how we respond to intimacy well into adulthood. So depending on the kind of attachment we form with our parents, Tacken says that people develop into one of three types of romantic relationships as adults. They can be anchors, islands, or waves. Anchors are generally secure, able to commit, and adaptable. They form and maintain relationships very easily. Islands are independent, self-reliant, and low maintenance, but in relationships, they can be withholding and isolating. Waves are generous, focused on caring for others, and the happiest whenever they are around people. But they run hot and cold in relationships, seek constant reassurance from their partners, and they can lash out when their needs aren't fully met. Having grown up in an alcoholic home, I've always had trouble feeling safe and secure in relationships. That didn't magically go away when I moved away from this alcoholic parent, or whenever I went to grad school or college, or even whenever I started a relationship with what could have been a great person. It's something I have to be aware of constantly, because in times of uncertainty or panic or confusion, I can revert back to those childhood tendencies. For example, I know that as an adult child of an alcoholic that I tend to want to know immediately if someone is right for me. I know that language is problematic. Cut me some slack. I'm still deconstructing that. But my anxiety here is real. I grew up walking on eggshells and waiting for the other shoe to drop, always. It's as if I'm always looking for a reason not to trust someone. I would prefer to get to know someone as quickly as possible so that I can keep moving on if I can't trust them. Now, I know that we live in a hurry up and microwave it world, but this is a lot deeper than that. I have to constantly remind myself that God created the heavens and the earth. And God didn't rush. We couldn't have plants without water or a gardener to take care of those plants. Things had to happen in a certain order. The thing is, when it comes to emotional baggage, I believe that we all have something. Maybe you didn't grow up with an alcoholic parent. Maybe you grew up with a parent who didn't support you on fundamental levels. Maybe you weren't allowed to express emotion. Maybe you weren't ever given the space to trust your gut and make your own decisions. There's so much from our past that informs our present. And sometimes that can feel overwhelming. But there's good news in this emotional piece. We haven't struggled for nothing. Polish psychologist Dabrowski, he theorized that individuals need to go through several existential trials throughout their lives in order to reach their potential. This process can only be catalyzed by adversity and challenging life events that force the individual to re-examine our every belief and will lead to self-actualization. Parents, this might be about dating, but this might be something good for you to keep in mind as you try to protect and prepare your kid for every little thing. Deconstruction and adversity are good for us. Maybe it doesn't justify the pain from the past, but it does add value to the work that we're doing on ourselves. So the second part that I'm trying to integrate is my spirituality. I've learned that our partners need to be the same essence that we are. When I go on a few dates with someone, as silly as this may sound, I start to think, is this who I want to sit in a parent-teacher conference with in 5 years? Is this who I want to navigate eventually losing our parents with? Is this who I would want to wrestle a terminal illness with? I care more about a person's essence, their values, what makes them who they are, than these labels of Christian or non-Christian. Growing up with the "do not be unequally yoked" verse being thrown around, that's something I really had to take a step back and look at. I mean, I am a pastor. But in order to establish moving deeper with someone, I need to know what's going on deep down. I want to know things like, what's actually important to you? What do you want your life to stand for? What sort of qualities do you want to cultivate as a person? Values are our heart's deepest desires for the way we want to interact and relate to the world, other people, and ourselves. They are about how you want to behave towards your friends, your family, yourself, your environment, your work. And asking these questions of someone else also means that I have to ask them of myself. I must examine my own values. And finally, the third space I wanted to talk about today is the integration of me sexually. If you grew up in the 90s, you most likely heard about purity culture. In 1981, the Reagan administration started to pour federal funding into abstinence until marriage programs. It continued during the Clinton and Bush administrations and was cut in 2010 after the realization, aka data, proved that it was not beneficial to anyone. Through shared storytelling with people who waited until marriage to have sex and with some who didn't wait, I realized that this theory about purity was more harmful than helpful. It was more about shame than connection. It was more about self-improvement than holiness. Most of us were sold this lie that a blissful, perfect life would be waiting for you if, and only if, you waited until you got married to have sex. But along with that were strict rules about dress. Don't be a stumbling block. No one-on-one interactions with the opposite sex. You don't want to tempt them. And to keep your thoughts pure. Don't you dare think about someone like that. And of course, these were all backed up with Bible verses that were taken out of context. It's okay if you choose to wait until you got married, or you chose to wait until you got married. It's also okay if you chose not to wait until you got married. We know that being denied from something usually sends us to the opposite end of the spectrum, which is indulgence. None of us want to give up our desires. The pendulum swings, though, and we must choose if we want to stay, indulge, or live in the tension. Rob Bell argues that the tension is actually a big part of what makes us human. And it's more about trading in our desires for bigger and better ones. So I've been on a mission to design a more inclusive sexual ethic for myself that is bigger and better. One that's not about abstinence and strict rules and purity, but more about holiness. And by holiness, I mean this place when we are free from our ego and connected to ourselves and something bigger. Holiness is choosing vulnerability and freedom from judgment and fear. It's about choosing gratitude and love individually and communally. So what could be bigger and better? For me, it's deep connection. In the book Sex God, Rob Bell says, how you treat creation reflects how you feel about the Creator. To me, this simple statement says so much. There's no compartmentalization, friends. We can't fight inclusion and equity and climate change, but neglect, mistreat, or objectify the relationships in our closest spheres. We, you and me, take part daily in the ongoing creation of the earth. Am I respecting the image of God in others? Am I dehumanizing those around me or making them feel like individuals in the midst of a tough year? Am I loving my neighbor? Am I a person of character and integrity? Am I taking care of creation the best that I can? Those are the questions that I continually am asking. I hope you'll choose wholeness and goodness and compassion and love, even if they're not truly attainable, even when it's not easy, even when I don't trust it because I don't know what's coming next. I know that with every decision, every conversation, every gesture, every swipe on a dating app, every message that gets sent, every action, every attitude, that I'm either inviting heaven or hell to earth. And by heaven, I mean a place where we can run around naked. Not really naked, get your heads out of the gutter, but more like sharing our whole selves in a way that we trust the world around us. A place of real love where power is given away and we have beauty and harmony together. And just so we're clear, if we're going to define heaven, let's also define what I mean by hell. I'm not talking about the Left Behind Kirk Cameron type of hell where everything's on fire. But I'm talking about evil, destruction, greed, self-centeredness, injustice, oppression, misery. A place that is formless and void. This past week we remembered the Holocaust. If we travel back in time to the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp, we can see a time when heaven crashed into earth. I can't remember where I heard this story or read it, but I'd like to share it with you this morning. It was shortly after the British Red Cross arrived that a large quantity of lipstick arrived. It was not what we wanted, as we were hoping for actual supplies. It was later called a sheer act of genius, though. Women lay in bed with no sheets and no nighties, but with scarlet red lips. They wandered around with nothing but a blanket over their shoulders, but scarlet red lips. I saw a woman dead on the post-mortem table, and clutched in her hand was a piece of lipstick. At last, someone had done something to make them feel like individuals again. They were someone, no longer merely the number that was tattooed on their arm. That lipstick was the piece that gave them back their humanity. As a community, awakening, struggling, and loving together as if a different world is possible, I hope you'll choose to bring heaven to earth, to love humanity instead of dehumanizing. Sometimes all it takes is a little bit of lipstick. I'd like to close with a short benediction today, a sending out a prayer that I have adopted for myself. May we, you and me, just try not to be jerks and a-holes as we navigate relationships emotionally, spiritually, and sexually this week. I love you, Watershed. Have a great week.